Good evening. On behalf of the Action Lab, I'd like to welcome you all to the Freedom Forward Film Series. This virtual series brings together social impact storytellers, social justice practitioners, and artists dedicated to imagining a world with freedom, justice, and well-being for all people. We are extremely honored this evening to host La Guerra Contra Nuestras Escuelas, The War Against Our Schools, by Mikey Cordero, produced by Francis Medina, and to have guests from Puerto Rico to talk about the education justice struggle here on the islands. With that, I leave you, The War Against Our Schools.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everyone. My name is Mikey Cordero. I'm the director and producer of La Guerra Contra Nuestras Escuelas, The War Against Our Schools. And I'm being joined with Francis Medina, also our producer on La Guerra Contra Nuestras Escuelas. And also part of a core member of Defend Puerto Rico, as a digital strategist and a film producer and director. Welcome. Hi, Francis. We would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight for this very special virtual screening of our film. Um, we thankful to Action Lab for giving us the space and allowing us to showcase the film. Not only the film, but also allow us to bring in some very important people that are part of small movements in Puerto Rico that are, on the ground, that are also not only on the ground and fighting for public education rights, but also writing about it, researching about it, and putting some great information out around this topic and what's going on in Puerto Rico currently. Um, Francis, you want to introduce our guests for tonight?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're able to continue to use the film to create spaces of dialogue. I'm super to present our panelists collaborating since the start production of this film. There's Lourdes, Acción de Maestro. She is not a writer, but she's also an actor and teacher. And Lourdes has in special education. She also has a Bachelor of Science with the second concentration social studies and history. It's been a pleasure to work with Lourdes on this panel, but also impact tours in Puerto Rico. Early this year, we were able to different municipalities in Puerto Rico of Lourdes. So it's always an honor. Second to me is Sarah Molina, who's educator and public scholar that works at the intersection with master's studies, feminist humanities. She holds a PhD graduate center and is currently a research associate at Florida. And Sara also is a Puerto Rico syllabus, which we're creating for and I mean, she's a lot of other things to say much more, a little bit more about, you know, her particularly the research in public education in Puerto Rico with the which we'll talk a little bit more about. So, because I think for me what's important, the space and to really are doing issues and the themes that are presented and dive right in, right? Ask a few questions. We also have we have the ones to send questions chat. I believe Mikey can on Facebook and on YouTube, and as you can see, gives you some instructions. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, please, if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, make a comment or you have any questions. We can definitely see it here. So definitely make your comments and ask your questions. And we're going to take some time at the end to respond to any questions that are in the chat. I also want to say, I think, this is part of why, like as a filmmaker and media makers, as part of the Film Puerto Rico, we do this work because we know and we recognize, that we're just the conduits of shedding light on what's happening and amplifying the real voices of the people doing work in Puerto Rico. So, we always encourage and are grateful to be able to use these spaces and showing the film in conjunction with, bringing to light all the people that are doing the hard work in Puerto Rico and doing the important work around these issues that we also amplify in the film. So Sara, Lourdes, welcome.
Yeah.
Yes.
I answer the questions because I have a lot to offer. There's room for us to continue this space, which is what we want, right? Sara, Lourdes, La Federación, into spaces where they can talk about Rico. So my first question for you, we know that the film we shot over 3 years. So the state of public education much in Puerto Rico are still relevant. A bit about what is happening right now in Puerto Rico. Are there more risks of school closure?
Well, hi to everyone. Bueno, voy a leer un momentito en español por si hay alguien allá dentro de los 88 espectadores. Si hay alguien boricua, pues un saludo. Y si no hay personas latinas que hablen español, pues un saludo también caluroso. Sí, aquí tenemos problemas de sonido ahorita, Frances, que tal vez las preguntas las puedes escribir y las leemos. So, what's happening in Puerto Rico? ¿Qué está ocurriendo en Puerto Rico? What's happening right now? Our current situation, it's not opposite of what we have just seen in the film, in the project, right? We are under a huge attack to all public areas, not only education, but education right now. I think it's the main target, not only a target of the government, the local government, but it's a target of the Oversight Fiscal Board. Why it's a target? Because they need to shut down all the
the possibility, let me explain a little bit more. They are trying to minimize public funding in all areas. So right now, schools look like a huge investment in Puerto Rico. So they are trying, the public policies are related to make more difficult for me as a teacher to have quality in our schools, because we have a lot of structural problems in the buildings, and we have a lot of control about in curriculum, and we are being like, bueno, voy a decirlo en español, estamos acechados, no? We are facing a lot of bureaucracy, since regarding to planifications or to standardize information. So the current situation right now, it's a fight. It's like the title of the documentary. It's a war against schools, and public schools are the main target. Right now, we have a lot of schools shut down. We have also a power outage in Puerto Rico in several areas. That is caused, maybe for me, the first reason is the privatization of the electric system in Puerto Rico. It's a fight that we are having here right now, and that power outages around the island, it's affecting the capacity of the schools to make a guarantee of education, to make education a human rights, a common right for all students in Puerto Rico, all public students. So we have a lot of crises in that sense, because all those power outages are making us have difficult, or all schools are working in different schedules around the island. So, we are working class teachers, as we have working class families. They are having a lot of struggle to keep going on the schedules of their lives, because we are having schools shutting, service early in the morning because we have problems with electricity, for example. Maybe Mikey, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, because I'm thinking in Spanish and practicing a little bit my English here, but that's part of the situation right now in the schools in Puerto Rico.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for the update. Lo que está pasando ahora in Puerto Rico. I think we also would like to hear about what is specifically La Federación FMPR doing to advocate for the teachers, for the students, and the families. What are the current demands? Que son los demandas ahora mismo?
Yes. Well, we are also fighting to survive every day here in the US colony, right? So, since the recent Hurricane Fiona, la Federación de Maestros y Maestras de Puerto Rico, the first thing we did was, make collaborations around other organizations to help our teachers and our students here in the island. So in the past maybe 1 month, we have been working on that. But at the same time, we are working case by case with teachers that they are having a lot of ¿cómo se dice? Acoso laboral. They're having a lot of, guys, Mikey, the word?
¿Cuál?
Acoso laboral.
Harassment.
Harassment. Thank you.
Yeah, labor.
Yeah, we haven't labor harassment. We are having a lot of issues regarding labor harassment in the past 3 months. So we are not just dealing with the consequences of of disaster capitalism in the colony, but we are also defending our rights as teachers and workers at the same time, and also defending the rights of the students, because those two are related. As our rights as workers, as teachers, it's related to also the rights of the students. That's part of another topic, another conversation, but they are both related. So right now we're working on that. We are working as well to educate our the members of the union. We need to have more access and more space to understand what rights are. Human rights are not just in the Declaration and in the Universal Declaration of Universal Human Rights. They are part of our Constitution as well, and we have to fight for dignity. So we are engaging, and we are making, programs in the different areas in Puerto Rico, so we can keep in touch with our members, and we can teach them and relate them with the work we need to do. It's the work of defend. Really, we need to defend the public education in Puerto Rico, that it's under attack, and it's increasing the attack, for example. So we need to have all of our teachers around the island educated on human rights based education, and also our workers, our rights as workers. So that's the thing.
Can you talk about como how that is also like strategic for a state to go after the education, and what it means when they start to go after the education sector in a country, and the effects of that?
Yeah, for example, the burnout on workers in academia and as a general, and in public schools and scholars. I think burnout is part of, a huge theme. I think burnout is like the first manifestation of that oppression related to workers right now in Puerto Rico and its public schools, because we are doing a lot of paperwork, a lot of unnecessary paperwork. And for example, in my school, we do not have televisions or projectors or printers, but you are asking me a lot of paperwork. So we have a huge school, and we don't have a ceiling for our basketball court, and our students, we are depriving education. It's like you are failing. You are designing the fail of the system. It's failing by design. Our school system is maybe going to fail because it's part of the design, and standardized tests, for example, an increasing bureaucracy, a short, a minimum democratic process or access to information. So we have we have burnout. We have a lot of bureaucracy regarding to education and quality. We are not talking about quality. We're talking about quantity, and it's different. We need to, have to create the methods, the really good methods and mixed methods to evaluate education or learning, and we are not having that. We are only thinking about standardized tests. So it's not only, you can't be just. You can't have a restorative justice process. Education being just, only measuring quality by a standardized test. So I have resumed a little bit. No, we have a lot of bureaucracy, a huge one since the latest law. We have a short, no, it's not short. We don't have access to information, and we don't have democratic process anymore. And we are having a lot of burnout in the teachers. So as well, we are having, families are not happy about the service of the education public system right now, because it's not working for anyone. It's just working for justify the failing of the system, of the faith of the system. So I'm just to para cerrar, to close, I will love to say this again. It's failing by design. You are making us fail by the design of the government, of the design of the public education programs and policies. They are making us fail. We are not failing because we are not failure. And we can demonstrate that in many ways. So, I get emotional about this. It's a failing by design policies and industry. It's not the way it's happening in Puerto Rico. No, en español puedo decir montones de cosas más, pero sí para resumir que eso quede claro.
Francis, you back with us?
I am back. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. We are Puerto Rico. Connection here. Every time meetings is questionable, but we're back. Thank you.
Yes,
This. I'm still going out.
yeah.
Okay.
But
You
please,
take it on.
yeah. So thank you, Lourdes. I wanted to real quick bring in Sarah too, because I know she's done a lot of work, research, scholarly work, writing around kind of like the bureaucracy of schools in Puerto Rico. Can you speak a little bit to that, Sarah?
Yeah, hi everyone, and thank you so much to Defend Puerto Rico for the invitation and to Action Lab for organizing this. Such an important event. Every time I see this film, I learn new things. I'll talk a bit about my research and how it intersects with the themes in this film. So I'm an anthropologist, and I work broadly on how people in Puerto Rico are responding to compound crises, colonial, environmental, and economic, and how they experience especially the kind of daily degradations of debt in their lives. And this, I think, is very much part of the failure by design that Lourdes is speaking about. So I collaborated with the CAM Las Carolinas that is shown in the film, and my research was really to show how their mutual aid center and how their organizing space was part of a larger history of women acting to defend public education in their communities. So I wanted to historicize this process. I wanted to show how women, and especially elders, have been at the center of this for many years. And I situate the school occupation and rescue that you see in the documentary in terms of what I call how people are repurposing abandonment and how they're building infrastructures of care, or alternative infrastructures of care. And this refers to how folks are taking back the spaces that have been enclosed by debt, that have been enclosed by this failure by design, as Lourdes mentioned, and how these projects are often facilitated through mutual aid that have longer histories in these neighborhoods. And they're very intergenerational projects, as we see. They're shaping new practices of intergenerational care, and they're working to repair a kind of social fabric that has been really devastated by years of austerity. And Mikey, the bureaucratic part is very interesting, because part of educational reform, eventually there was proposals put forth and processes to supposedly let communities, take back their schools or rent through compraventa, things like that, these closed schools. But what I found in my research and in the CAM Las Carolinas was that these processes, again, are actually designed to exclude the communities, right? The rentals of the closed schools are going to organizations that have a lot of money, that have kind of different political connections, and the whole bureaucratic process of applying to rent the school is just completely exclusionary, and it's not a process that is accessible to grassroots community organizations, to mutual aid practitioners in the context of crises. So again, this is failure by design in terms of these schools, regardless of the legislative projects, the government does not want them necessarily returned to the communities.
Yeah, I think part of what part of the film, is not only like we try to present what the education problem is, right? Affecting the teachers, affecting the students and the families, but then also cover the response to that, right? And the people's response and the movements that stress that, people are not standing by. They don't want to stand by, right? They don't want to let this happen, but there are communities like taking action and responding. But even in doing that, that is also a struggle on top of what they're going through, right? The processes that they have to go to in order to like fight back, in order to like reclaim spaces, to own spaces in Puerto Rico. Even like when they want to fight back and when they want to respond, they're met with even more struggle on top of that. And like you guys said, it's definitely by design and to turn people off into responding in this way. And that's why we call it a war on on education in Puerto Rico, because that is essentially what it is, systematically and publicly, right? Lourdes, a lot of people are asking kind of what the role is of folks stateside and outside of Puerto Rico. What type of like actions and response can they take to help FNPR, to help kind of the policies you guys want to push right now, or changes to policies that you want to push right now? So what can folks, do?
Yes. Mira, in the first place, I think we shouldn't be naive about economic interventions. Maybe I want to be very clear with this, but we shouldn't be naive in terms that the main goal is to protect public education. So I'm saying this because, we need a lot, we really need a lot. In my schools, for example, we don't have printers. It's just, and my school is on the capital. I'm in San Juan. So if the schools in San Juan don't have ceilings in the basketball courts, you need to think what is happening in the interior, in the rural areas of Puerto Rico. And you need to think what is happening in the South, that since the earthquakes, they don't have schools yet. So it's a very complicated. So, for example, maybe we need a lot of I'm forgetting the words. You need to be advocates as we are advocates in Puerto Rico. So we need to have a common narrative. We need a common narrative towards disaster capitalism applied in Puerto Rico. So for us here in our great island in the Caribbean, we need a common narrative. Yes, we need economic support, but we shouldn't be naive about it. So, for example, we need to build up a common narrative, and how we do that. But, like today, we are reaching out and we are communicating and we are connecting. So we need a lot of more spaces like this in las Federación de Maestros y Maestras. We need, to have more conversations with teachers in the U.S. And you can follow us on Instagram, of course, Facebook and Twitter. But we are grateful if we have, human connections. If you think you can help, maybe you can write us on those social networks. And when we should meet, we should meet digitally, and we need to again build up a common narrative, because the war, it's against the schools in Puerto Rico, but it's also going to have effects on the US, because we have a lot of displacement and we are having a lot of family issues, broken families, a lot of depression, mental health. It's on stake as well. So it's not easy. I know a lot of teachers that they are in the US right now, but they didn't want to go. They didn't want to live. So maybe I think I was clear, we have to build up a common narrative. We shouldn't be naive about economic funding as well. And for example, you can follow us on different social networks. So that's up.
Also want to, like you said, like we need the common narrative, and part of, us as like media makers and filmmakers and making the film, we made the film to support you in all this. And part of making that film, we also collaborated with PR Syllabus to create a viewing guide for the film. So people who are watching it outside of Puerto Rico and even inside Puerto Rico kind of have some guiding questions and a micro syllabus around everything around and giving context to what's happening in the film and giving more pathways for people to educate themselves and also kind of take action. Sarah was one of the people that was instrumental in putting that together. So Sarah, can you talk a little bit about what we did for the viewing guide for La Guerra?
Yeah, thanks, Mikey. And just real quick, I'm one of the co-founders of the Puerto Rico syllabus, and I hope we're going to be, I think we're going to be sharing these links somewhere with the audience. But we're a feminist collective founded in 2017 by a group of advanced scholars and emerging scholars that work in different ways in Puerto Rico, in conversation with activists and public intellectuals in Puerto Rico and the diaspora. And our goal with the syllabus is really to build what we call a living archive of open, accessible educational resources that can contextualize and historicize and provide some kind of social and cultural context and information about the different aspects of Puerto Rico's compound crises. And we wanted to do this really to develop alternative narratives because we found, especially in the diaspora, media, kind of mainstream media narratives around Puerto Rico's debt, especially in the beginning of Promesa, et cetera, it was very narrow, economistic or legalistic framing. So we wanted to kind of explode those framings and provide different ways of thinking about the debt crisis. And so we had a partnership last semester with Defend Puerto Rico, it's still evolving, and it was actually one of the my favorite things I've done on the syllabus. And we wanted to bring together the Puerto Rico syllabus's kind of expertise in creating digital pedagogical tools with Defend Puerto Rico's expertise in storytelling and advocacy and media. So like Mikey said, we have a viewing guide that is fully bilingual, and we have a micro syllabus that is meant to provide different entry points to themes that emerge in the film. So for example, education privatization, mutual aid, the history of the rescate movement in Puerto Rico, and also looking to New Orleans and Detroit, other sites that have been affected by similar processes, as the film shows. And we have a PDF that's downloadable, so it's very easily shareable with some guided questions for self or group reflection. We have an activity tool that kind of asks people to reimagine abandoned spaces in their own community. And we hope that this guide can travel with the film, and it can travel digitally, and it can travel in-person conversations and digital conversations as a resource to inspire action and spark conversation and critical thinking across different educational and activist communities. So we hope that everyone finds it useful.
Dope. So yeah, me and Francis were super excited to work with you guys this year on this, and to finally take like our content and one of our films into this space, because we know how important it is in the education spaces and the university spaces, and really supporting people in what they're seeing, right? And supporting people in the story that we're trying to tell and the people we're trying to highlight. I think the way to engage with that and engage with media is like super important, and super important to getting the support that's needed and resources that's needed back to Puerto Rico and the movements on the ground, like Lourdes and FMPR. We had a question in the chat about there was one question about union to union. So the union is the United Federation of Teachers. I think there's a question for you, Lourdes, if there's any way like people from the United Federation of Teachers could support the Federación de Maestros in Puerto Rico. So is there any like inter-union activism happening? or possibilities for that?
Yes, I actually don't know if we already have a working connection or communication with the United Federation of Teachers, but Mercedes Martinez is our president, so I will send her all the information, and I will wrote the name of Macho Orlando Cordero, who wrote the question, so I can, have a retrieve, the information back. But yes, we are part of the trinational. We are working with Canada and with Mexico as well, other unions. So I will verify. And I have another question here about the law, the 85 law, la ley 85, que fue la ley de reforma. Sí, Suset, saludos. Te voy a contestar rápido en español y rápido resumo en inglés. Pues Suset, Suset, sí, hay algo pendiente por ahí. We are working, I don't want to say this on this platform because it's part of the grassroots work that we do with our members. But yes, Suset, I can keep in touch. I can contact you and we can talk about it here in Puerto Rico if you are here. But yes, we need to guarantee, like I said before, we need to guarantee public education. So yes, we're working towards that.
Cool. So I kind of want to start to wrap things up for us. I think, it was great to be able to share like everything around this film. I think we really want to keep doing this and, take advantage of whenever we could do this and bring, somebody from FMPR, somebody from the movements featured in the film. So I wanted to kind of I think like kind of one more question. And if there's not any more questions from people watching, getting in right now if you need to. But I just want to kind of ask, our film, that like takes the angle of like what's happening with education, but I think across all sectors in Puerto Rico, there's like a privatization attack, right? Privatizing land, privatizing our land and our schools, the privatization of schools. I think that was like 2018 that there was a hard push under Kelleher to get people to submit ideas for charter schools in Puerto Rico. Do you have an update on like what happened with that and post Kelleher? What has kind of changed? As we said in the film, Kelleher was arrested for corruption charges, and she was sentenced earlier this year, or I think the end of last year. It was, in my opinion, the sentencing was a slap on the wrist. I think it was like 6 months probation or a house arrest or algo así. But Lourdes, can we get kind of like what it's looking like post Kelleher and the effects of what she did?
Well, Kelleher, she was right. She was a very bright person. Yes, she was, because she destroyed the ¿cómo se llama esto? The cultural organization of the Department of Education changed completely since Kelleher in Puerto Rico. So we need to say that yes, she was a very wise vulture. ¿Cómo es que se dice eso? Vulture. She was a very wise vulture. Yes. Since that, we had recently 4 more charter schools in the area of San Juan, for example. So yes, we are seeing a movement towards that. So it's not simple because all it's like Sarah said, it's very difficult for grassroots organization. It's very difficult for teachers and students and parents to gather information about how the Department of Education is dealing with the budget. Right now, we have a huge budget, but you don't see the budget on schools. You don't. You don't. Actually, I would like to share a lot of pictures, maybe in another platform, I don't know where, so you can see actually. And I'm talking only about the schools in the capital. You need to think, if those schools are near to the central government and they don't have the basic stuff, you need to imagine what is happening in the rest of the island. I need to say as well, in other areas, they have a little more democracy and power in other areas. In the area of San Juan, we don't have access of information, and we are very restricted about this process. So post Kelleher, the panorama, it's complicated as the beginning. So that's the reason I said we need common narrative, we need more digital gatherings and more advocates. This great work that you did in the film, it's very important to us that there in the Action Lab we are having this conversation. So thank you so much to Action Lab for having us here. So that's for now.
Cool. So people could find you guys maestrasdepuertorico.com. They could also donate. You guys have a GoFundMe to donate to the teachers and the students in Puerto Rico right now. Sarah, any last words?
No, just thank you all. And I'd love to keep collaborating in creating this, this critical common narrative, and please count on the Puerto Rico syllabus as a partner in this. So yes, visit puertoricosyllabus.com. We might have a few glitches going on right now with our WordPress, but it will be back soon.
Cool. Great. So thank you, Lourdes. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us. Everybody else, check out La Guerra PR.com. On there, you could find the guide, you could find more screenings of the film, and you can also find links to all the organizations that were featured in the film, the Rescue School Spaces, and also the Federación de Maestro. There's a link to their organization also on there too. So that's laguerrapr.com. And you also find a guide on there if you want to host a screening. There's also a contact page to contact us for any screening ideas that you may have. We're open to getting this film out wherever and whenever. So bring the film, bring Lourdes, bring Sarah to talk. And yeah, you can reach out to us on there. And of course, social media, defendpr.com is our website, Facebook, Defend Puerto Rico, and IG, Defend PR. I think Mari would like to come back in and say a little goodbye. Francis, I know you had some issues, but it was lovely still having your face present in the conversation.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, let's bring Mari back on. Hey, Mari, are you there?
Thank you, Francis, Sara, Lourdes. Thank you all on behalf of the lab. We invite you, all of the people viewing, to continue to support Defend Puerto Rico, as well as La Federación de Maestro and the Puerto Rico syllabus. And we also invite you to join us in 2 weeks for a screening of Primera about the popular uprisings in Chile. We will be with filmmaker Pete Bravo, as well as human rights lawyer Santana. So please join us at freedomfilms.org. View our Eventbrite for tickets. Tell your friends. All of our virtual screenings are free of charge and open to audiences wherever you are. Thank you all again to our wonderful panel. Have a good evening, everyone. And thank you as well for your patience as we navigate fragile infrastructure on the island of Puerto Rico. Good night.
Good night, everyone.